Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I'm with Dr. Tim Hartman. You may have seen him on TikTok or Instagram, making fun of jiu-jitsu people and doing all this awesome content with Eskrima or Arnis. And today I'm going to talk to him not only about his part of his personal life and his training, but also what it's like being a martial arts influencer, right? Being in the world where you're actually showing martial arts to the masses, especially a style of martial arts that's not super common for the average person to see, right? So thank you so much for coming on here. I appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. No problem
So
at all.
tell us a little bit just before we even dive into it, because I want to play a game. We're going to play a game called Stick or Myth, basically true or false. But before we even
Okay.
do that, give us a little bit about your background, just like a brief background that way people know a little bit more about you.
So I teach Filipino martial arts. I started in a school that was a dedicated Filipino martial arts school. Most places don't teach it that way. I run a full-time school, and I do about 25 to 30 seminars a year around the world. And I make fun of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
All right, cool. But I think you also train in jiu-jitsu, right? Or
I
no?
do. So I was actually the one to bring. Okay, so I'm the one that brought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to Buffalo in the first place, and a bunch of the black belts that are out there at one time or another trained in my school. I didn't teach it, but one of my students was from Canada. I live on the Canadian border. Um, they saw Remy Praces with Wally J. This is before the UFC hit. Actually, it was right after the UFC hit. They saw Remy with Wally J. They loved the material. They wanted to get on board with us, and they came, hey, we want to train with you. Okay, all right. And you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Yeah. Would you like to teach while you're visiting? Sure. So on Sunday mornings, they'd come down and train with me, and then taught a Jiu-Jitsu class afterwards. Eventually, we got a program going. I recently got my blue belt. Now, this is back in the 90s. I do Jiu-Jitsu for street defense. I don't do it for rank. So
Mm-hmm.
I've never really cared about it. And they're finally like, when are you going to go for rank? I really don't care about that. Then one day at an event, they promoted me, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I appreciate that. So I was on the 20-year white belt program. Now we'll see if I'll be on the 20-year blue belt program. So
Okay, cool. So you practice it mainly for street purposes.
yeah, it's an enrichment program. And actually, the more I did, I realized so like a third of what we do is from Wally J, or heavily influenced by Wally J. So that was small circle jiu-jitsu, which is a derivative of Danzenru jiu-jitsu. And I realized the more Brazilian I did, well, really, let's get serious. There is no such thing as Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It is the newaza of judo. It's just the ground element of judo. So I'm not trying to make fun of them. That's just the way it is. So when I started doing stuff, I realized most of the stuff I did standing in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you do it horizontal. So I it really just showed me more of how to reapply what I already knew to a different plane. And when we rolled back when I started, it was no holds barred.
Hmm.
So we would roll, and I would tap people out with finger locks all the time, and they don't allow them
Finger
anymore.
locks. Okay.
Yeah, why not? It's there. It's just bump, bump,
You do like
or I do all
groin
the
twists?
small. One of my black belts is he's retired now from the FBI, but when it all hit before he went in, he's like, I'm doing all the private lessons with these guys. You don't even do this, and you're tapping me out left and right. I go, Kevin, you've been doing this for how long? I've been doing private lessons for the last 6 to 8 months. Yeah, I've been doing stand up jiu-jitsu for lack of a better term for 16 years at that time. What have I tapped you out with? This, and this. Right. I'm in your guard, and I'm tapping you out with all my stand up skills.
Mhm.
It's now of course they those are no longer, well, now they made all those techniques illegal, and now they're legal again, or some of them are for certain belt levels evidently. um I think that was because they just want to make sure that the Japanese stylists didn't beat them,
Yeah, I was
just
really
like judo
upset.
changes its rules because of jiu-jitsu people. So
Yeah, when they got rid of the groin twister, I was like, "This is dumb. Forget this." Um, but yeah, thanks for giving us a little bit more about your martial arts background, your pedigree. And for those that, just for people who are listening that maybe don't follow you, just while we're on here, how do they actually find you? If they want to look at some
you
videos while
punch
we're
in
doing.
Datu, Datu Hartman, you will find me all over the internet. um I yeah, I And you might see me in point counterpoint arguments, which in all actuality, I'm helping out the person, which I'm assuming that's part of today's conversation. As you know, but um, I I want to inspire critical thinking, and I love making fun of the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu trolls out there, not the BJJ students, the trolls, because they are the worst trolls on the internet. Um, if it didn't happen in the UFC, it was fake. And of course, they forget that the UFC started off as an infomercial for the Gracies, where they owned it, they picked the fighters, they set up all the matches. So yeah, of course they're going to win. Well,
Yeah.
wait a minute, they didn't. Hoist bowed out to Harold Howard out of Canada. Go figure. Oh, wait a minute. And that was the student, the guy who had the student that came to me that brought BJJ to Buffalo. But just, small circle there. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so we're gonna play a little game if you're cool with that. Now we have your
Mhm.
background. So this
Okay.
game is gonna be called Stick or Myth. Okay.
Okay.
So a little bit like rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm gonna name a common martial arts belief, and
Okay.
then you're gonna say stick if it's true
True.
or
Okay.
myth if
Myth.
it's
Okay.
nonsense.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is you can defend against a knife with your bare hands. Stick or myth?
Stick.
Disarming is more important than disabling. Stick or myth?
That was a rough one. I'm going to say myth. That's kind of a little both.
Okay. Traditional weapons training makes you better at empty hand.
I'm going to say myth on that one, but we can, whatever.
Myth on that one. Okay. We can
Well, I
go.
mean, as if it's traditional Filipino, yes. If we're talking about the other tradition, like if we're talking Japanese, Okinawan, Korean, yeah, that's a myth.
You think Japanese or Okinawan weapons training doesn't make you better at open hand? Why do you feel like Filipino weaponry does, but traditional Okinawan does not?
So the Filipino martial arts started, okay, so go to war. You start weaponized. You don't fight open hands. So, like when everyone told me BJJ for the combatants, yeah, that's more for confidence. But why would you fight with 100 pounds of gear on your back rolling around like a turtle on the ground?
Mm.
Our techniques go weapon on weapon, and then they go hand on weapon. And the weapon maneuvers are actually to teach us hand maneuvers unarmed. Now, they'll say that the other aisles, the other systems, that there's a correlation. It is a big disconnect between the weapon maneuvers and the open hand combatives of the others. There is a connection, but by and large, there's a huge disconnect. Unless you're,
Mm.
unless you're doing like the Psy where you're doing high block and punch, high block and punch. Well, okay, they're fine with that. But if we're talking like the staff and all these other stuff, even then, I think there's a much bigger disconnect. Filipino martial arts transitions from weapon open hand seamlessly.
Okay, good answer. All right, next one. Stick or myth? Flashy demos are bad for martial arts.
That's a myth.
Myth. Okay, next one. And we could get to explanations later, but I want to do
Okay,
a little
sure.
more rapid fire. Stick or myth? Modern Arnis is too complicated for beginners.
Myth.
BJJ is more practical than Filipino weaponry.
Myth.
I knew that was going to be good. All right, stick or myth? You make your own hair gel.
Oh, that's a stick for no. It's a myth.
All right, cool. Thanks for playing. So, is there any one of those you want to actually talk about or expand upon?
We can talk about the flashy one.
Yeah, tell us about the flashy one because you and I just recently were at like where we actually met in person is at MayaCon, so the
Yeah,
Martial Arts Industry Association, and they had at the same time, so they had like a conference for martial arts business owners,
mhm.
and then at the same time they had the U.S. Open competition where there is a lot of that
Yes, they did.
flashy taekwondo, karate,
It is. Mhm.
team competitions, and also point fighting. So tell us more
Yep.
about that because I want to know what your thoughts are in terms of the practicality of it, or whether it's good for or bad or martial arts in general.
Okay. So first of all, let's go to the start with the beginning. Less than 1% of the population does martial arts. Less than one. But we like to round up to one because it's easier. So that means if you're in a room of 100 people and you're the martial artist, how many are you going to meet? None, because you're the one.
Mhm.
Majority of them are strikers. So grapplers and weapon people like me are the minority of the martial art world. It's mostly karate. It's mostly striking arts, karate, taekwondo, kempo, kickboxing, stuff of that nature. With that, we need a hook to bring people through the door. Now, the UFC has done a great job to get people into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but even with all that and all the MMA schools, they are still the minority of the martial art industry. If you want a martial art to thrive, it needs to be accessible by all genders and all ages. Adults have disposable income, but they don't have, and they also have disposable time. Unfortunately, when the time is no longer disposable because they have children and stuff of like that, they make sacrifices. So the future of our industry is getting kids involved. I've got a person right now. He is doing movies. He's still a student of mine. He started with me when he was 3.5, and he's in his 30s right now. Ryan Montalopoulos was just in Cobra Kai. He stunt double for William Dafoe as the Green Goblin in the last Spider-Man movie. He's done a whole bunch of things. When you get in at a young age, they can make it a lifelong thing. Now, I didn't start officially. I was a partial artist, and then I became a martial artist.
Nice.
So, partial artist, Gen Xer. Oh, there's a pair of boxing gloves. Oh, what do? We box. Oh, there's a bunch of wooden swords or wooden knives. What do? We hit each other with them, you know. So I did that backyard BS for the longest time. And then when I was 19, I got into a legitimate school. And it clicked and it became my passion. Not everyone finds it that way. You get a girlfriend, you get your kids, you do all this other stuff, job changes. I changed my life for my martial arts. I don't have kids. I didn't make it as an active choice. I did and I didn't. I committed to my passion. It started becoming my profession. And I realized that until I can get my job to where I want it to be, I wasn't going to bring a child into this world and be an absent parent or a delinquent parent if I couldn't afford to provide for them. Even if someone wanted me to be a DNA donor and I'd have a child with somebody, but they raised them and I just did my thing, I still, if they're my child, I want to be part of their life. And I made that sacrifice.
I just want to say, if you're interested in Dr. Tim Hartman being a DNA donor, just comment below donor. We'll see if we can get you one. All right, keep going.
My wife might have a problem with that at the moment.
Okay, hopefully she doesn't watch. All right, keep going.
Okay. But I mean, I'm married now. She already had a child. We are in our 60s plus, but I've only been married for a couple of years, although we've been together for quite some time. And also one of my black belts. The thing here is that, you know, by the time I got my life together where I could put these things, it was too late for this, you know. But think about this. You're doing martial arts. Things are doing great. You get married with kids. Well, it's all about the kids and your wife or your husband, depending on which part of the equation is. It's about your family. It's no longer about you. It's about us. So a lot of people go out, but if you can get kids at a young age involved with this, they will stick with this and it becomes a lifestyle. And you can learn how to balance it. Not everyone's going to go in and become a martial arts school owner like me. I didn't even plan on doing this. I was like, dude, it'd be cool to be a black belt, just like it'd be cool to be a NASCAR driver, a rock star, or an astronaut. I never thought that this was going to be who I was. We back into our industry, our stuff. That's the way the martial art instructors work. There's no school to go to learn how to do this. So, you know, but looking through all that, kids have longevity, and that's what keeps the doors open. And that's also where you get your future martial artists. I mean, and the flash bang stuff, that attracts the kids. That attracts the cinema. You look at all these movies now. We no longer really have, okay, up until Karate Kid came out again after Cobra Kai, we don't have martial art movies as much as we have action movies with martial arts in them. You know, when Van Damme did Universal Soldier, that's when the paradigm kind of changed. And it was an action movie. And you look at John Wick, you know, the series, Keanu's got all these different martial arts styles blended in there. So, you know, people are attracted to that flash. So I'm not saying that's what you defend yourself with, but we need a hook to get people through our door, just like my videos. You know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is silly for self-defense. Then people want to listen to what I have to say. And then I flip it around saying, well, it's actually about people saying that I'm not legit because I'm wearing shoes. What's that have to do with this? Nothing. But you listen to the clickbait title, and then we got in. Or they continue on that. I'm like, did you actually listen to the rest of my video?
Yeah. And I think like that's so important, specifically in martial arts, but just in general also, to give people what they want in order to get what they need, right? And my favorite story about that, like for me, is I like the thing that I talk about the most publicly
Mm-hmm.
is how to get new students in your martial arts school without relying on ads. Like, how do you go out to your local public and private school, elementary schools, or
Mm-hmm.
summer camps and recruit new students and bring them in your doors instead of waiting for
Mm-hmm.
people to go to your website or click on an ad? Like, we all need ads, we all need websites. Yeah, I get that. But you have to have another source of new students that are coming in the door that you earn, not buy, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that since COVID, school owners like they kind of stopped doing that. Like, it became easier to just run ads, so they haven't done a lot of the organic marketing. And whenever we do a school program, too often people try to like create the perfect seminar of like, this is what kids are going to need in order to get bully prevention. But it's like, okay, you're telling me you're going to totally change the culture of a school or prevent some kid from getting bullied in like a 30-minute class one time, that's probably not really going to happen, right? Nothing's really changed from that one 30-minute class. So, and the way I think about this is, at one point I had a foster dog. Okay, I never grew up with dogs, but I love dogs when other people have them. So at some point I was like, hey, I'm going to foster some dogs and see what it's actually like to have a dog for a little while. So, do you have a dog, by the way?
Yes, if there was something moving around in my background, that would
Your
be
dog. Okay.
Brenner. And unfortunately, I just lost on Mother's Day, my big boy. I've usually had a bunch of Rottweilers in the house,
Oh gosh.
so we've had lots of big dogs that are big babies that just love being around people, and yeah.
So you'll laugh at me because you're a dog owner. Okay. So I didn't know anything besides I like the dog. So I foster this dog. When the dog comes home with me, her name's Bella. So the dog comes home with me and they're like, hey, this dog has like heartworm or something like that. I didn't know what that was, but
Mm-hmm.
they're like, you have to give this dog, you have to give Bella the like medication every day. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, sounds good. They give me the medication, they give me the crate, they give me the food, they give everything I need in order to take care of this foster
Mm-hmm.
dog. And I'm like, great. So I go home, playing with the dog. I'm so excited. It's time for me to go to bed. And I'm like, all right, I have to give her the heartworm medication. So I take the medication. It's like a little pill. I put it in front of her. She like licks it a couple times, like sniffs it, and then drops it on the floor. And I'm
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
ah, that's annoying. All right, fine. So I pick it back up. Now it's all like slobbery and gross, right? And now I start to like play with it, like, pretend it's like a toy, right? I'm moving it around, like jumping up and down, running around the room, put it back out for her. She sniffs it again, drops it on the floor. And I'm like, what the hell? How do I get this dog? How do I get Bella to
Mm-hmm.
her medication? So I call up my friend who has a dog, right? And he has dogs most of his life. And I told him the story, and I was like, I don't know how to get Bella to take this medication. What do I do? And he's like, first of all, you're an idiot. And he's like, second of all, he's like, you got to give the dog what it wants. You got to give her what she wants in order to get what she needs.
All right.
He's like, he said, wrap it in some peanut butter. She'll eat it immediately. Grab some peanut butter and a spoon, put the pill in the middle. She ate it right
Mm-hmm.
away. And to me, that was like a moment where I was like, huh. So in order to recruit new students in our school, sometimes we have to give them what they want, something that's
Mm-hmm.
fun and flashy, in order to really get what they need on the mat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was always told, when I was like a young martial arts school owner, like, hey, you got to teach like the real stuff when you go into school so they can actually get better. Like, you can't be like a
Mm-hmm.
commercial. I kind of feel like the exact opposite now. I feel like when you go to a school to do a program, it should basically be a commercial, because whatever's going to get them in the door, that's where they're going to learn the real martial arts. That's where they get the real training. Okay. And if you don't hook them in, they're never going to get good anyway. Right. It's just
Yeah.
kind of stroking your own ego. So that's how I kind of use that for our
Mm-hmm.
schools and for our instructors. Anytime we do any kind of
Mm-hmm.
like outside marketing, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, and we've had a bunch of groups in Buffalo, like school owners associations of our own. We just try to pull together. A lot of our schools are geographically far enough away from each other and different styles. We talked about advertising together. And there was the big divide between those who wanted more legitimate ads versus ads that got the phone to ring. And when you're advertising in general, the whole idea is to get the phone to ring. And people are like, oh, but this person is wearing a white gi. We wear black. Doesn't matter. Oh, this person, their hand position's wrong. Still doesn't matter. You're trying to advertise to you. You don't want another you. You want someone to mold into who you are. We want the moms and the dads. So back when we had phone books, I had a full page ad, half page and full page ad, and you open up the book, and here we go. This gorgeous little girl in a white karate gi. I had so many calls because of that. I got into I was teaching at a preschool, so it was an enrichment program, and I'd come in and I'd get leads from that would actually join my school afterwards. I taught at 5 locations. I know schools, and I know other schools in the area that built off their careers off of getting in there, you know. But the thing is, the reason why the phone rang is because of a good ad. Now, I don't feel that I'm a sellout because when people call me, I tell them exactly what I teach, you know. Um, so I have a phrase. I go, "We got to get the F out of FMA." And people are like, what do you mean by that? Well, the problem here is in the Filipino martial art world, some people don't think you can run a full-time school. I've got North America's longest running professional martial arts school for Filipino martial arts. And I don't think it is an FMA school. I think it is a martial arts school.
Mm.
And I teach Filipino martial arts, but it's a martial arts school first. And no matter what system I would teach in there, it's still a martial arts school. So there's things you're going to have. You're going to have your introductory programs. You're going to have your insurance. You're going to have your waivers. You can have your ads. You can do all these different things. It doesn't matter what style I'm teaching because at the end of the day, it's still going to have the same things. We're going to have a belted program. You're going to have a level program. You're going to have whatever. Now, some arts are definitely harder than others to have a professional school. Capoeira is one of them. BJJ's probably got the one of the biggest challenges. It's got the UFC as an advertisement, a year long. I mean, talk about doing any kind of MMA. Wow. How lucky are you to have the UFC and arts like that promoting them all the time?
Mm-hmm.
But people come in through the door. Most people don't make it to most people probably don't make it past their 3rd week because it's not contact they want. Then the biggest dropout is definitely at white belt. The second biggest is after becoming a blue belt, and the thing here though is they romanticize being in the UFC. You had that thing coming through the door, but they have to, if they had their systems down right, they probably retain things a lot better. And unfortunately, most martial artists have never come up through a martial. Why'd I go to the MayaCon? I'm a member of Maya, and they've changed the way I do business, and it has made a much more viable opportunity for me to teach Filipino martial arts. I do a lot of seminars on the road, but I can run a full-time school now. And sometimes it's actually makes me better money staying home than is going on the road. So, but it's the systems, and I have an art that can be taught by itself. Unfortunately, if you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to sign people up, what you should and shouldn't do. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things in there,
Yeah, and I think like running a martial arts business as a passion versus hey, I want to make a living and doing it as an income are two very different things, right? And most of the time, someone who comes up in a school, eventually they want to move on and open up their own school if that's the path they want to take. They just copy what their instructor did, but they don't know if what their instructor did was even good. They don't know the school's finances. They're just copying what they think.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
who
this is how
knows?
my instructor did it, right?
I know of a BJJ school that's got a lot of people in it, a lot of kids in it, and the person has a real job. So my question would then be, what do they charge for tuition?
Yep.
Because maybe it's not about making money. Maybe it's just about paying the bills to keep the doors open because they love what they're doing, or maybe it's egocentric. I mean, there's so many different factors and I'm not saying BJJ, I'm just using that as an example. I mean, that's hard to have a kids program. It's not, it's definitely not an easy fit to have kids. I mean, kids like to wrestle, but it is very problematic teaching. It's easier to teach karate or taekwondo to beginners, to young ones, and control the room than it is for grappling, especially when they don't have control and they hurt each other.
Yeah, kids are pretty pliable though.
They are, but they get hurt and it ends up discouraged. Like I'll use an example. You got to know how to manage the room. One of the things, if I have a coach and counsel situation with a kid, they're getting out of line, I sit them out. First thing I do is when their parents come to pick them up, I tell them, hey, listen, I'm not telling you to get involved. I just want you to know I had to sit out Billy today because they're being a little too, we're being too distracted in the class. And like, I go, as far as I'm concerned, it is done. The reason why I'm telling you this, if all of a sudden he starts saying, I don't want to go to class, I don't want to go to class, he's not telling you because he's misbehaving. He's telling you he doesn't want to go to class, and you might think that he doesn't want to go to class anymore, doesn't need this anymore, when actually it's when he needs it more than before. I actually had a little thing this morning with a parent and with a family, and it's, the kids are great at telling you that they don't want to go back, but they don't tell you why they don't want to go back. And of course, the parents don't ask the question, what's going on, whatever, well, my kid doesn't want to do this anymore. Okay. Well, I mean, that's fine. You don't want to do this anymore. And we can talk about stuff of that nature, but, there's a time when you need to fire a clientele.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
then, but there's other times that you need to, we have to sit down and say, okay, let's have a discussion. Did you know that Billy did this? No. Well, and that goes on my side. So when Billy does something, the parents have to be informed. So if there's a corrective action, everyone's on that page. And
Yeah,
this
and I
is
really like how you pre-framed it. Like, hey, if this happens, if they come to you later, this might be why, right? You kind of sensed it. I think most people
yeah,
don't sense it. They try to put
yeah,
out that fire when it's already a blazing inferno and they get a text that
yeah.
says, hey, we want to quit. Like, no, you got to put out that blaze when you
Mm-hmm.
smell smoke. And when you smell smoke is like and there's an issue with attendance, like maybe they're not
Mm-hmm.
coming as often as they
Right.
used to. You got to get into them right away. If you see any change in behavior, if you see any signs of disinterest, you got to bring it up first. I think some school owners, like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to
Right.
ruffle any feathers, but it's the exact opposite. You want to
Right.
bring up it first,
Yeah.
so that way when they come to you and say, "Hey, we want to take a break," it's not like you're being defensive. You're being
Right.
proactive and like, "Hey,
Yeah.
here's what I noticed about your child. If this happens, then know that that's the reason why, or
Yeah.
that's normal, or that's
Yeah.
natural." And then you just sound like a way better leader, not someone who's just like, "Oh, can you please keep coming so I keep getting tuition?"
The other thing too is this is actually a good self-defense thing too. So you have an incident, you handle the incident. Okay. I tell the kids all this time, if something goes down, like you should report these things, not to tell people, tell on them, because and it's hard. It's actually a dialogue I have with the parents because we recently had someone that threatened firearms were involved, the threat of firearms. I go, well, you need to do this, and you need to, you need to reach out. So first of all, the kid was assaulted. Okay, so somebody slapped one of my students and he hit him back. I'm like, all right. So first thing I would do is go back and say this. Well, then there turns out they were saying more things about firearms. Well, then the police showed up and there's firearms in the house and the kid was bipping off, threatening people. And well, that had to be dealt with. But the thing here is I've had situations. I file out incident reports, even if I handled everything, because if it's not documented and it happens again, you don't have this digital paper trail showing you that this has been a pattern. Well, this guy always does this to me. Well, you never told us. Like we tell a teacher, you're like, the parents go in and say, so and so hit my kid in this. What are you going to do about it? Well, how long has it been going on? For like 6 months. Well, why didn't you come to me ahead of time? I can't do anything about what happened for the last 6 months. You didn't tell me. So during COVID, I was misidentified as a police officer because I wear cargo pants and I wear golf shirts. And someone chased us into a parking lot. It was at the height of BLM. And
You got chased into a parking lot because they thought you were a police officer.
yeah.
That is wild. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I pull in road rage situation. I wasn't going fast enough for them, but I was going to hit the car in front of me if I go any faster. And I got out of the car. I went towards their vehicle to get them away from my wife because I didn't want ground zero to be at the car. And then when everything, oh, you cracker. I'm like, okay, all right. Young buck got back in his car, never laid a hand on me. A lot of words were said. I'm not proud of that. But I didn't lay hands on him. He goes into the mall. First thing I do is call up the police. I want an incident report because if I'm going into the mall, and the place was an hour away, it was an hour round trip away from my home. If it was around the corner, I would have just went home.
Right.
Either way, I had an incident. I reported the incident. I didn't press charges, but if it escalated, so I parked in a different part of the mall. The police all showed up. We went through all the things, because I don't care that you're a cop. And I, of course, when I made that comment, the police showed up really quickly when I said that. That's what he was saying. Went through everything. No problem. It didn't escalate. But had it done, I had filed a report to the police that this had happened. He chased me into the parking lot. They went over there, and I do, cross the T's, dot the I's. Well, if there's an incident in your school or in your home or in your neighborhood or in your whatever, you want to call whomever or keep people or take notes, and like I said, dealing with a problem with a kid, you talk to the parents, you document it, you get them, because as martial artists, if you're teaching and you're teaching children, we're partners in parenting. We got to help these kids out. They're going to make bad decisions, they're going to do things. We're there to help with the process, not do it for them, but help with them. And if we do, one of the things you need to do is let them know that you've taken corrective actions, so they can properly support it as well. And that doesn't mean telling the parents to go home and browbeat, because like the ones I said today, the mom's like, well, I'm going to have a talk. Like, listen, it's already done. Everything was done. Everything was done. He now knows what's going to happen if he does this again. I just want you to understand that this is what happened in class. This is how I handled it. I'm letting you know. And if he ever gets to that point where he doesn't like being corrected and he doesn't want to go back to class because of that, and you see the value of him coming back into class, because that's the whole thing. It's not about whether the kid sees the value, it's whether the parents see the value. And if the parents see that you are trying to help them, they're in the boat with you.
So what do you say to a parent then who they're like, yeah, listen, I get that. I think it's right for him, but I don't want to drag him. I don't want to fight him. I just don't want to deal with that. How do you answer that one?
Well, one of the things I tell them to do is give them a chore. Give them a chore half hour before they have to get ready for class. Then all of a sudden, when it's time to get ready for class, hey, time to go to karate. And it's not karate, but that's the word they use. Time to go to class. Oh, and they'll drop their chore in the middle of what they're doing. But I mean, here's the part of the problem. The parents have to control the kids. And one of which is, if you know that they will be distracted by playing video games before the class, don't let them do video games. If you know once they get in the pool, like it's summer now, we had 90 some odd degree yesterday. I won't, if I'm in the pool, I don't want to go to class. I'd call in sick, but they're paying me to be there. So I'm going to be there. If it was the other way around, I'm like, I'm not going in today, but today becomes tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after. But the thing where, at the end of the day, if the parent isn't going to be the parent, there's only so much you can do. But, I look at things, like I said, well, if we're doing this stuff, my mindset is, hey, listen, if you see value in this, this is what we need to do. And if you're having a problem, is there a problem once you get them here? No, they have a blast. Okay. So what you need to do is make sure you don't let them do another activity until it's time to do this. So if it's school year, it's usually not a big deal. Get your homework done. Summertime, it's rough because a lot of times they may have been in the pools or they're coming from summer camp.
Yeah, and they're tired.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a hard one. There's only so much you can do. I do have some parents that just like, it's too much of a chore. I'm like, well, if you don't see the value in the program, we get it. There's only so much, because at the end of the day, we can't twist their arms as much as we want to.
Yeah,
it's called mugging. We're not mugging her. We want. Okay, if we're talking the business of martial arts, we want to charge as much as possible that they're willing to pay while seeing a value. We don't want to undercharge. You should know what the average thing is right now. Probably about $159 to $189 a month is what tuition is usually per month, on average, of a monthly installment. You don't want to sit there and like people have never done this before. I'm gonna only charge $80. I'm like, dude, no, everyone else is charging the same thing. Well, I don't have the nice facility. You're charging for the lessons, not the facility. That's the extras.
Sure. Yeah. And for anyone who's listening now who maybe isn't in the martial arts world, like if you're thinking like, how much should martial arts cost? Like how much should membership cost at a martial arts school? Most people have no idea, but in general, it ranges where you are in the country, in the US, but general ranges anywhere between 120 and $300 a month is about the range. It really just depends on the school and what they teach. And like you said,
real estate prices too, because obviously rental and stuff like that. I'm lucky where I'm at, in Buffalo, New York. So, it's all good, but I've, like I said, I'm like 150, it's 99 down plus 12 payments of 159. Okay. That's my basic one. Of course, if you do a paid in full for a 12-month program, you get a discount, but and that's without any upgrades, any extra classes put on there. All right. Well, some places, I think LA, California is much more expensive, but then the cost of living is much more expensive. Exactly. So it's proportionate to where you're at. So if you hear these numbers and like getting sticker shock one way or another, well, that's too much or too little.
Yeah.
Geographic, the geographics affect everything.
Yeah, and if anything, if a martial arts school charges too little, to me, that's like a red flag immediately. If it's a martial arts school charges anything, I mean, I said 120, that's really low. That's probably like a really rural area and like a not, not anywhere near metropolitan. It really
Yeah,
should be anywhere between 150 to 300. 150 is like, I think, the minimum.
yeah.
But if it's like really low, like they're charging $50 a month, there's probably something wrong, right?
They're not
Or
professional. They don't know what they're doing. It does. And the other thing too could be just they're uneducated when it comes to that portion of things, or maybe they've got they are independently wealthy and they're not worrying about it. So I mean, it's still I
that's
would
rare
not
though.
judge
That's so
someone.
rare.
I
How
know.
often?
Yeah. I
How often
would
does that happen?
I wouldn't judge it. Well, I would listen. Here's the thing: you got to ask questions with everything.
Yeah.
Someone says something. Why am I paying this? And like I got a quote for a new camera system in my school. Okay, tell me what I'm paying for, and talk to them, and when I've got people, they come from other schools and they get sticker shock there, and then they're like, why are you so much less? I go, well, they have a 10,000 square foot building they're paying a mortgage on. I don't have that. I have a lot of different things, and my landlord gives me a good deal, and I'm sharing it with my members. I also do seminars around the world, so I'm not solely dependent on the income from the school, but I charge a fair rate compared on what the industry standard is. But for those who get sticker shock saying that even that's a much, think about this. Think about what you paid to go to college for something. I'm willing to bet you that my education would rival the fees that doctors went through because like my education doesn't stop. I'm continually paying into my education. You go to, you know, you go to, you do your regular college, then you go into your 4 year degree. After your 4 year degree, you get your doctorate. Okay, that's a lot of money, but when you think about what you paid for martial art lessons to get you to that level, and then if you're like me, I'm a member of Maya and CMA. I'm spending a lot of money every year just for that. So I'm constantly contributing to my education, and I don't want to give any numbers away or stuff like that, but um, you know, you could go really low with some of the programs they got up there, up to like I'm spending over 10K a year on this stuff. Um, but I'm getting that value back. But the fact of the matter is, I'm investing in my education
Yeah, that's the main point I think to underline, right? You're investing in education. You go to college, it's going to
constantly.
cost 15 to $60,000 a year, depending on what school you go to, maybe even more per year if it's like
Yeah.
a Ivy League school, right?
You get
Like a
your 4 year
martial arts
degree and you're
school.
out.
Yeah, martial arts school,
You
you're
know.
paying like 1,500 to 3 grand a year, some around that range.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're really getting value of it, and I think always the best lessons are taught outside of school. That's truly what I believe. Like school is helpful. I think everyone should get an education, but there's
Mm-hmm.
obviously so much value in martial arts. And I believe whether you're an adult or a child, everyone should train in martial arts at some point in their life. Maybe not make it a hobby that's forever if they're not into it, but at least learn the basics of self
Yeah.
defense and how to
Mm-hmm.
have situational awareness. That way you don't, you're not just like a victim in any situation. But I want to ask you some more questions about some of the
Oh,
modern Arnie stuff
okay.
that you teach. So I know you've trained like police and military, right? Or maybe
I've
just
had,
police.
okay, well, yes and no. So I've had people in the military come and train with me. I have not had government contracts with the military, although I am in a group called Sheepdog Combatives that was based in Virginia. They're now here in New York. And I was a civilian adjunct instructor with them teaching at the Virginia Police Academy. So you have a client that pays money out of their own pocket, and I don't care what agency they come from, you're not teaching those agencies. And that's what a lot of martial arts school owners, oh, look, I'm teaching the FBI. No, you're teaching an FBI agent who's paying out of his pocket on the weekend, to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this
yeah.
with you. That is not the same. I have trained some high speed operators, but I haven't had contracts to do the police, or I mean the military. Police, yes, and I've done defensive tactics recertification courses. I've worked with the street crimes unit. I've done with a whole bunch of different things. So, which is a whole different animal than teaching, because there's a lot of restrictions of what they can do,
And are
what
you
they
usually
can't do.
teaching our niece with them, or is it
Yeah.
usually open? Okay, so what are
Oh no,
some like?
So yeah, so I'll do. You know, I'll teach defensive tactics as edged and impact weapons. Keep it real simple.
Okay. And then, so what are some real world, I guess, techniques that are applicable to someone who's in law enforcement that you might teach in with our niece?
So the big thing is our mostly our impact weapon disarming and our edge weapon disarming. And the thing here is it's based on the fact that you're unarmed and they are armed. If two people are armed, no one's willing to go in wholeheartedly. I watch. I love and hate watching social media. I love it for research. I hate it for the violence that is out there, and the stupidity of people to get the ideas to do some of the stuff like the knockout game and stuff like that. That used to be out there. So, but I see a lot of real world stuff, and I've had real world encounters as well. But when you have two people who are armed, it looks more like a boxing or fencing match where people don't want to overcommit because the other person is going to get them.
Mm.
So our disarms are my stuff is what if the police are assaulted before they have a chance to deploy any of their tools, such as their batons, spray, tasers, arms, whatever the case. So it is a weapon assault by an untrained attacker because once again, less than 1% of the population knows what they're doing out there.
Mm.
So we train for those opponents first.
Yeah. So if someone's like, let's say they grab a bat from their car or a baton
Mm-hmm.
or a stick and they go to just like a big wide swing,
Yep.
are you teaching them generally to step back or to step in?
So it all depends on how much I like to crash in, but I'm also unarmed. So I haven't carried a knife on me since we'll just say June 1st. I went to Barbados to do some stuff down there. So it was actually in May, and I think it was May 26th or 5th is the last time I had a knife on me. And I just do as a proof of concept that I can do 30 days without a knife. I've carried a knife all my life because I lived on a farm, bags of feed, bales of hay. So I've got knives all over the place that I pick up and cut open whatever I need, boxes, envelopes, the mailman, whatever.
Give yourself a
So
haircut, like
yeah. For when I'm making my own my gel too. So, so, but I don't carry that stuff. But the mindset here is, or I'm not carrying it at the moment. If someone deploys a weapon, I need to smother that as fast as possible. If they do it, if I have time to back away, I'm going to get away and exit. So, I'm a big fan of crashing in, but if I don't feel comfortable initially, I'm going to back up and go in on the backstroke. So as the weapon passes me, go in after that. Personally, I don't even want to give them that much. I want to get on it right away, but there's so many things again, like how far away are we from each other? Do I have a chance to deploy anything? And then listen, most I'm going to have is I'll either have a knife. What I always have with me is my flashlight and my pen. Now at night, if I have this out, I can flash you and just, oh, what was that? When I was in Brazil, I didn't have my blade with me. I didn't realize I should have brought one. We had an incident, and I was ready to go. Fortunately, we were able to calm things down and not do it. I was in Italy once, and I had my knife and my flashlight deployed. My position on weapons, if you're going to use them in an encounter, if it's not deployed prior to the encounter, it's not coming out.
you're just
Okay,
not
because
gonna have
people
enough
are
time.
no. I mean, once you have to, especially on a folding knife, when people listen, this is my everyday carry. I need to train this more than anything else. I do the weapon training to understand how the weapon works. We start weapon on weapon, and then after I build up skill, attributes, and the biggest one, confidence, then I drop the weapon and they still have the weapon because that's the most likely situation.
Hmm.
I travel in too many states, too many countries, too many metal detectors. So when everyone says, "Oh, I'll just shoot him," that's great if you have that, if you can deploy, and if you actually have the balls to pull the firearm out and put some lead down range.
Hmm.
I've been shooting since I was 5. I've been doing martial arts, backyard nonsense since the 70s, legitimate stuff since 85. I have no problem laying hands on someone and causing pain. And I've seen people break down crying because they couldn't put a chokehold on someone because it was against them. I have no problem causing pain. I do not want to deal with the emotional baggage of really wrecking someone or taking someone's life, because I've seen that happen, and people's lives have changed from that point on. The rest of their life, they're a different person.
Hmm.
Uh, PTSD is a. I remember going hunting with a friend of mine. It wasn't hunting; we were shooting anything that moved, and I really had issues with it afterwards. And I can take a life if I had to of an animal to put food on the table if that's what it took for survival. I don't question the ability to hurt, break, or even worse to a human being if that's what happened had to be done for survival. But at the end of the day, I do not want to deal with all that, to be able to have to harmonize and deal with that afterwards. Because like I said, I've seen people that have taken lives in a justified situation and they're never the same again.
Yeah, it's a lot to carry.
It's a lot. And I lost my father to the job. He was a state police officer, and it was complications of the job. And there was a lot of psychological stuff going on there, and I don't know. I was too young to ask him whether he had actually shot anybody or something. And that's not the conversation you ask, because he was a state police officer in Syracuse. My parents were divorced when I was 2. I lost him when I was 15, and I wasn't old enough to have those kind of conversations. But he did teach me to shoot, and he said, if you're not going to pull the trigger, don't pull it out in the first place.
Mm.
So that's the kind of mindset I have in general. And it's just it's such a thing to unpack. And then people are very cavalier with their opinions, and these are the people that would probably wet themselves in a real life situation.
Yeah,
um,
keyboard warriors,
you know
right?
and well, yeah, you're just constantly, oh, I just do this, I just do that. I go, can you even merit the use of that? I mean, uh, I'd rather be carried, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Oh, shut up. Stop with the cheap cop out comments. And like I said, most likely, most of the people that all the big talk, so as you talked about, and we were talking about, I bust chops in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Well, you know what? All these guys talking about storming the dojo, no one showed up on my doorstep. And Robbie D'Onofrio, who I was having the point counterpoint, who's a friend of mine, which these morons don't get, especially with if you actually listen to what we said, you'd realize that we didn't have a problem with each other. We're just playing point counterpoint. You know, people said, "Oh, you should go storm his dojo." I got an idea. Get off your ass and storm my dojo yourself. I'm here. And I don't have the time to wait. You know what? You look at my website, you can see the hours I'm there. I'm not waiting for you at the door because we know you're not showing up.
So, I'm assuming because you did so much weapons training, especially with sticks, there's probably been times where I'm assuming you've gotten injured. So, like, what's the worst injury you've had with like a weapons training or your training?
Pool noodle in the eye.
That's the worst you've had, a pool noodle in the eye, just like some
Uh,
burning.
so training wise,
Yeah.
that was it. Literally, that was we were before they came out with good padded sticks. Century made this thing called the battle baton, which was a pool noodle and a spike put out. Eventually, they got rid of the spike. But they didn't really think that went through very well.
Yeah.
And it hit me right in the eye with my eye open.
Ah.
Most painful thing I've ever hit. So I was in multiple car accidents. The last one, torn rotator cuff, torn bicep. Okay. The after effects, yes, lifting up the arm. I've had reconstructive surgery. We're all good. But if we're talking pain at the point of impact, the most painful thing I've ever had is that pool noodle in the eye. I had Grandmaster Remy Praces throw me around like a rag doll. I've had Grandmaster Wally J throw me around. I had Dr. G choke me out. I've had some of the meanest guys on the mats lay hands on me, the most painful. You talk to fathers, anyone who's had vasectomies, they'll tell you that their kid poking them in the eye was more painful than that vasectomy.
Yeah, stepping on a
Uh,
Lego. God,
just think about a finger poke to the eye, how painful that could be.
yeah. Yeah, I've done
That was
martial arts training most of my life, and I've never had a serious injury. No, I've like sprained toes and like
yeah,
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 yeah, a little thing, like sprained ankle, stuff like that.
yeah.
Where your ankle turns weird and you have trouble walking for like 4 or 6 weeks, but very minor. Never broke a bone or anything. The worst experience I had, because you brought up eyes, is I was 18 years old. And I was out late at night with friends. Maybe I was like
Mm-hmm.
19, but drinking involved. Someone comes
Uh-oh.
around me, puts their arm around me, right? And it was like ancillary friend, like someone who I knew but not necessarily friends with. They're smoking a cigarette, right?
Mhm.
They put their arm around me and they start jumping up and down, and the cigarette goes up and hits me directly in the eye. A lit
Mhm.
cigarette. I like immediately like went blind in the eye, and like I don't even really know what happened after that. People just like ushered me away and like took care of me, but I was just like, oh my god, I'm never gonna see you again. And then luckily it all healed, but every single day for like 2 weeks, both of my eyelids, because it was burned on both sides, I guess my eyelid closed last second, would
Mhm.
heal together. Like the scab would heal together. So every day I'd have to
Peel apart.
peel it apart.
Yeah.
And it was miserable. And like that,
Mhm.
that is worse than anything I've ever had happen on a martial arts mat, where people actually care about your safety and don't want to hurt you. Right. If you're in a martial arts
No.
school, people want to
Yeah.
hurt you, you got to leave. Or someone who's reckless, you got to tell them you don't want to train with them anymore.
Yeah. I've been knocked silly. I missed a block and got a roundhouse kick to the head and a standing 8 count. Like I said, we've done live stick and things got a little out of hand, but once we go past a certain level, but I tell you that's probably been the most. I was telling the story yesterday to the kids. The most painful thing I ever got, because we're talking about they're in line, they're doing stuff with it, and they're swinging the sticks around in line. And go, stop it, sit down, boom, done. And we were doing ladders, going back and forth, running and hitting the bags, and working cardio and grip strength and all this other stuff. And then we went into some grappling afterwards, and it's just like, dude, the most painful thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that like you used to believe in martial arts and now maybe you kind of laugh at?
Okay, so first of all, the definition of the word McDojo falls into 2 categories. In the original one, evidently we all talked about, which I didn't realize, because I got the latter one. The original one was that there was cookie cutter schools. That was like McDonald's that way. Not that the quality was bad. It was initially that it's just a cookie cutter school. I'm like, which I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because then you look at General Motors, their cars come out on a regular basis, Ferrari, all this other stuff.
Yeah. All good.
Then it got to a point where it means it's questionable martial arts. And usually, the thing is, when people start throwing the word McDojo around, they're the ones that know the least about what that word means. So, and I'll give you an example. Someone will say, "Well, if you do birthday parties, you're a McDojo." I'm like, okay, I do birthday parties. I thought you said my school's a McDojo. You said my school wasn't a McDojo last week. Uh, 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 Oh, okay. Well, let me example. Here's why I do birthday parties. It's on my calendar. It's on my thing, but I only do it for our members. So I had one of my students come up to me, and Hannah goes, "Datu, can I do my birthday party here?" I had 30 leads.
You growl at them. You growl at the little girl.
Yeah, I was like, ugh. But she was going to be my foster kid. We already figured she was going to move in with us, because there's always something going on in that household. I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
30 brand new leads. Okay. All right. Now, if you're trying to run a school and make money off the birthday parties only, not the leads, and that's how you're trying to make your money, I guess I get where you're coming from on that. But for those who are ever thinking about doing a birthday party, you get all these potential people coming. Now, the other thing is goodwill for your students. I don't do birthday parties for non-members. I only do it for our members. And it's a great retention thing. But back in the day, I'm like, yeah, I get that. I can see where there's a McDojo thing. And then I did my first birthday party. I'm like, it's not that bad after all.
Why not do it for non-members? Like we do them for non-members. For
The
people,
headaches.
you just don't want to deal with people who.
Well, the quantity. Okay, well, we've run into a bunch of issues with it, and the biggest thing is they're just looking for, most of the time. We have never gotten anyone sign up for any of our birthday parties. No one came through the door. No one that was not attached to our school, the people who just see that we're doing a birthday party, came in and actually signed up. And I don't know, it could be my systems at the time and stuff like that. Could have been the offers, who knows? But the biggest problem I had was the lack of respect for our facility. People come in, I'm fighting everybody about taking their shoes off and all this other stuff. And people don't realize that part of that is to keep the mats sanitary as much as possible and stuff. I mean, I don't care. Listen, I don't care if you wear shoes on the mats if you brought them in. I mean, kung fu wears shoes, boxing wears shoes, wrestling wears shoes, but those are dedicated shoes towards that environment, not walk around the parking lot and come walking in.
Right. Yeah.
And just there's been a whole bunch of things of that nature. Just for me, we just never found that it, and it could be the area, the demographic of
Yeah,
the
it
people
also
that are
could
coming through
be
the door.
not what you're focused on, right? If you're not focused, the grass grows where you
So
water it, right?
yeah, and it just never worked well for us. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but and I'm not against it. I would, but the thing here is, um, I'm not trying to make a living selling birthday parties. People have come in and we're trying to get leads from that, and that's a marketing opportunity, and I get it. We're focusing on other things now, more like or public appearances and stuff of that nature.
Okay, cool. And for the next thing I want to know, because I want to kind of transition to the growing of your social accounts,
Mhm.
right? And I know that Instagram, you got like 46,000 followers.
Yeah,
I don't know how many you have on TikTok. Do you know?
I want to say 143,
Okay. So
144,000,
much more on TikTok. So you're much bigger on TikTok.
and
Uh,
Facebook, I'm the beast. It's like 226.
oh, wow. Amazing. Okay, cool. So I guess my question for you is, uh, like when you post online and you've starting to grow your notoriety, like what video have you posted that sticks out to you that you thought was going to be like, whatever, but did way better than what you expected?
So it's been okay. So I think a lot of it's gone down as of late because there's a lot of distractions on the internet right now with the multiple wars, the back and forth between China, Trump being in office. So there's a whole bunch of things all at the same time. I think just this is a rough time to get views. That being said, my latest one is doing quite well. So the one I thought I was going to do very well is I did a series about knights in shining armor and Filipino martial arts fighting them. We did a 4-parter.
I saw
The
it.
first one,
Yeah.
the first one came out. I thought, and they did it out of order. The first one they did was with me and a magnet. I thought that was going to rock, and it did okay. It did not crush it. I was expecting. Last time I checked, it's only got 16,000 views. I'm looking at it right now. On my I have a spreadsheet that does it right now. So I just put one out the other day, like 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm going to pull it up here while we're talking. And it is okay. So if I go to this one is about me whooping up on a knight in armor and realizing I'm not taking him out because he's in armor and I got a wooden
Yeah.
stick.
That's the one that I saw. Yeah. That one's
Yeah,
hilarious.
so that's the last one. So that one is and looking on Instagram right now. That's at 656,000 on Facebook. I didn't based on the other performance of 16,000. I didn't expect anywhere near that on Instagram. It's got 662,000. YouTube is terrible. It's a slow burn there. Well, no, it's very hard to get views on YouTube. It's a real slow burn. Um, you know, but I got an Instagram. Oh no, so here we go. We've got Facebook. I've got 656,000. Instagram, 662,000. TikTok, 6,800.
So you never know kind of which platform.
Now, but that's got 144.7 thousand followers. My TikTok or my Instagram has been going backwards, and I think the reason why it's been going backwards is when I first signed up. So back in the day, for those who are new to social media, there was this 250 rule. If you had a friend, for when you make a post, for every friend you have and they like it, potentially 250 people would see that post as well. So I would indiscriminately accept friendships from everybody or just ask for friend requests all over the place. Didn't think twice about it. Just would just keep going, boom, 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 boom. Like in Instagram, I've been seeing some of the followers that I've accepted or whatever. They are, or someone follows me, so I follow them back. They're not followers I wanted. Those are followers that are hoochie mamas doing this, that, and the other thing. So I've been
Yeah. Yeah.
slowly, but I mean, because I wouldn't even think. I'm like, oh, follow me, follow. I wouldn't
You're
even
following
look
all
at
the
who
bot
follows.
accounts that are like, check out my OnlyFans.
Right, right. So now I'm going back and I'm looking. So when something comes up in my feed, I go, why is it in my feed? Oh, I'm following them, so I'm unfriending. So I don't know if it's coincidental that as I've been unfriending, I've dropped. It's usually about 46,000. So right now it's 45,900. Um, it's within 100 of being 46,000.
Yeah, got it.
Um,
Got it. Okay. So is there anything that like as you started to grow your account that like I guess consequences of that that you didn't expect?
People direct message me saying that they want to do things to me.
What does that
Grapplers
mean? They
wanting
want to fight
to
you, they want to hurt you, they want to
so
sexualize
so
you. What are you talking
here's
about?
what I really don't I don't get this at all. And so I started the company I use is People Trendy, and they said, listen, if you want to grow fast, you've got two options: dress in a thong and make sexual innuendos, or do controversial topics. Well, no one wants to see this. Well, I mean, there's probably somebody who wants to see me in the thong, but no one in their right mind.
Yeah,
So we
anyone who's asking for donor requests wants to also see you in a thong.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so we went controversial. It's the
Yeah.
way to go. And then well, and before we go down this route, I don't want to piss off my industry, and then I lose business. They go, Tim, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do some controversial posts, and then we'll flip it, and it won't be a problem. And they were right. So I've got a few friends that are a little twisted right now about some of the things that come out. But of course, instead of talking to me like adults, they cry like wanting little babies to each other, and they just ignore me or whatever. And they, and I'm Gen X Prime, born in 65, the first year of Gen X. We didn't fight on the internet. We fought face to face, So I see all this mealy mouth bullshit out there. And I'm like, can I say bullshit, by the way?
Yes, you can. You can say whatever
Okay.
you
All
want.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I see a bunch of little cowards that don't have the balls to say shit to my face, but they'll say it online and then they'll block me so I can't respond. And then people send this to me. I'm like, well, then why are you even talking about me?
Yeah.
I've blocked some people in the past because they're just a pain in the butt, and I don't talk about them unless they're relevant to a conversation for more of a historical thing, talking about people who were at certain events. That's it. I will not say anything negative to someone I block because it's not fair to say something about someone and not give them the opportunity to respond. Unfortunately, people don't do the same with me, but that's it. But I put the posts out there. We went controversial. And my God, these MMA trolls, BJJ trolls, they are the worst. They don't listen. They don't understand logic. I talked about the UFC not being real. I said it was real contact, but the context isn't. You're not fighting and then we'd go like, what do you mean by it? So I do a whole thing. I'm like, hey, listen, you're fighting in a ring with judges. Everything's there about keeping the fighters safe while punching each other head. Well, that's a contradiction, but if you're doing MMA, even the promoters want the fighters to be safe at the end because then they can have a rematch and they can make more money. That's good for everybody. You don't have multiple people jumping in. You don't have glass or concrete or barbed wire around. You don't have multiple attackers. You don't have all this stuff. So of course the UFC guys or all these trolls like, you saying that they can't defend themselves? I go, well, in some cases, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. BJ Penn got his ass whooped in a street fight. Okay, he was a world champ.
Is that actually true? I haven't. Is there a video of it?
He got so something happened at a party or something. He got knocked down. They beat the crap out of him. Now they pulled the guy off him. Later he jumped on him and then got a little revenge. But the thing is, and my BJJ coach is in the know. He's like, Tim, I cannot tell you how many jiu-jitsu players have gotten hospitalized or killed because they try to pull guards against knives and guns. If that's all you know what to do, you do what your training is. It doesn't mean that you can't alter your training. But like my friend does Kempo, when he started doing sport karate, he had a problem because they like kicking the groin all the time. It's illegal. No art is too dangerous to fight in the ring. It's just that if you don't train for it, if you're training for the street, you're going to get disqualified, and they got disqualified. Then they made modifications, and now they're on point with it. But you do what you train, and if you put someone choke in the street and they tapped, do you think you might let go? You might. I pull hairs. I do that in class. I'm grabbing hair. I'm simulating fish hooks and eye hooks. I'm like, okay, eyes, and I'll go above it. Get the eyebrows instead. I grab a hunk of hair all the time and say, well, don't you think you can do it? I go, I think you can, but you don't train for it. And you have to train for something. What do you train for? And logic goes out the window when you're talking to these guys. And then countless people want to storm my dojo. And I told them what would happen. One guy, oh my God. I challenge you to fly out to the West Coast. I'm in Buffalo. That's the East Coast for those who don't know. Go out to Washington and fight in backyard beef. So I've got to hop on a plane. I got to get a hotel, got to get a rental vehicle, fight in this backyard beef's online production. So they get paid and I have to pay to be part of that? Screw you. You want me to fight? $50K. That's my fee. Oh, and by the way, that is not my fee if I win. That's my fee win, lose, or draw. I don't fight for free, and people want to make I'm going to come now. We should do an exhibition match. All right, my time is worth something. Here's my fee. One guy was like, "Oh, I challenge you." I go, "Is that dollars or pesos?" That's insulting. That's racist. I go, "I can't see your face. Your icon." And it turns out he was Mexican of some sort, partial or full. And like, dude, I'm not trying. I'm like, when you say 50,000, I want to know what we're talking about here. And second, if you win, I go, no. There is no if I win. This is what my fee is. I don't care who it is. The fighters don't. Prize fighting's gone. People get paid to show. UFC fighters get paid to show, and then a bonus if they win. Okay, that's just the way it is. So you want a piece of me? You have to pay for me to show up. It's as simple as that. Or you show up to my school, lay your hands on me or my students, and find out what's going to happen. And then when we're done with that, we're going to cuff and stuff you. And then you explain to the officer or the judge, I flew all the way from California to fight Datu because he insulted MMA. Oh, stop it, you bunch of pansies! You'll have a weekend pass to some mental health institution with comments like that. Because really, you are upset with me because I say BJJ sucks. And the BJJ guys are saying the rest of the martial art world suck all the time, and it's okay for them. Oh, we do it for real. No, you don't. Because if you did we do it full out all the time. Really? Then you'd be breaking arms and people wouldn't have the ability to tap out. Stop it. You don't understand what the real world is.
So,
all right, I'm done with my rant.
Great rant. So when you're thinking about controversial topics, and I mean, I know you use a company, like you said, People Trendy, who I think film and edit. Do they come up with the topics for you, or do you come up with them, or is it a mixture?
A little both. So like reaction videos, a video will come out. They'll say, hey, here's a list of videos. And, they're supposed to get it. I'm supposed to get my list days before they show up. Sometimes it's the morning they show up. So I will film 50 videos. And a lot of it, I've got no prep whatsoever. Now, the Night series, so there's 4 videos on the Night and Armor series. That was all my doing. Then but they'll sit there and say, hey, listen, this deadly spear technique, okay, in Filipino martial arts. Okay, got it. Carl, stand over there. And first thing I do is I have the spear in my hand. I go, check out this deadly spear technique in Filipino martial arts. And I throw the spear across the room. I go, and in the meantime, Carl grabs the spear. He lays down on his back, and you see it being stuck to the ground. So that was an impromptu thing, But sometimes I'm trying to come up with the thing right then and there. And you can tell on some of the videos I'm a little tired because it's video 40 of 50 videos. And I don't get to see the stuff until it's released. So I have no clue how it looks. And there's a couple of videos I would definitely have wanted to redone. My first one, when I said that FMA is better than BJJ, the one thing I would have done is said why I prefer FMA over BJJ for my self-defense, because I kept listening to it. I was channeling a friend of mine. I'm like, oh my God, it's getting annoying. It's really getting annoying because I was responding to all the comments and I'd have to listen to the video while I'm responding. Because for those who don't know, that's how Facebook works when you're doing it right off the video versus you do it in the back room. And I'm like, oh my God, this I'm really getting sick of listening to myself.
Yeah. So when, now that you obviously have a lot more notoriety online, how does that actually affect your business?
Well, I've gotten a couple of people come through the door to train with me, and they've just renewed. So they've been with me for over a year now. So when I was teaching in Germany last year, the host had me ask the question. So how many people here, the deciding factor was my social media videos? A third of the people in the room, the deciding factor was those videos to show up. And so I've been going to the Philippines a lot lately. I've been there 10 times. Going back in November. So, and people knew me before I went there. There's no question. I mean, so this company really did very well for me, but I was a unique entity for them because I already had a reputation. I've been doing this for decades and I was already a global recognized instructor. But my followers collectively, if we're talking about on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, collectively, I had, I don't even know what the number is. It's not showing up properly. I have over 400,000 followers. I got that in a year, which is less than a year, from 7,000 followers.
Were you like crapping your pants when that happened? Like, holy crap, I did not expect this.
Well, no, the thing that shocked me, here's the kicker. So I'm in the Philippines the last 2 times, specifically the last time the most. Actually, so last August, I made the World Championships for World Stick Fighting. So I was at the venue, and the Governor Subiri shows up. He's or Senator Subiri shows up. He's a big advocate of Filipino martial arts over there. He's a rock star. There was more people lining up to take pictures of me than him. I'm like, and I'm like, and I'm not. And the thing here is, I was shocked. I mean, I would sit down, not to take pictures. I'm like, it was a constant flow. Like, I'm with Team USA, and one of the assistants are there. Oh, Jim Carlos, people are walking up giving Tim gifts and doing photos with him. And I'm like, Kim, do you know who I am? Well, you're Tim. No. Do you know who I am in the Filipino martial art world? Actually, no, I don't.
That's
Because it was just because a lot of the people they're like, hey, this is Tim. Nice to meet you. Boom. My name's Tim. I go to events. I stand up. Hi, my name's Tim Hartman. I teach Filipino martial arts. I'm from Buffalo, New York. Sit back down. Boom. Done. I don't like doing the whole bio thing. I'd rather prove it on the floor. I went. So people had reached out while I was there. Then I went back just a couple months ago. I was identified in a 7-Eleven. I was identified in a Dairy Queen. Someone saw me on an escalator in a mall. You're Tim Hartman. So, all right, come back up. We'll wait for you. In the airport, I was, you're Tim Hartman. Walking down the street, you're Tim Hartman. I'm in a foreign country and people recognizing me.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then I was talking to my guy who did the movie and was in Cobra Kai. I was talking to him on the phone the other day. He goes, "Oh, I didn't tell you what. I was recognized in Times Square." "Oh, good for you, man. I'm glad your career is doing." Go, no. It has nothing to do with me. "What do you mean it has nothing to do with me?" "Yeah, they recognize me off the videos I used to do with you before COVID." "You're Tim Hartman's student, Ryan." "Yeah." "Oh my God, we love Datu Tim. Oh my God, da da da." I'm like, "How does that make you feel?" I go, "It's still good because I'm glad that you're being successful." Because like Ryan does a lot of stuff behind the camera, but he's down in Georgia doing all the filming, and then he's up in New York City, and all of a sudden, you're one of Tim Hartman's students.
Yeah, cool.
So that's the stuff that makes me say, "Holy shit!" That's the stuff that is just completely. Oh, at the event when we met the first time, there was people walking by from the U.S. Open. You're that. Someone's having a hard time getting into the parking of Disney, which is horrendous if you don't have the key. So the guy in front of me says, "What am I trying to back up? Stop!" And I get out of the car and I'm walking up. I can't do anything. I go, "I got a key," and I flashed him my key before I got near the car because I didn't want him thinking I was coming out. I mean, there's a whole bunch of martial arts. We don't want to do like some scene from Big Trouble in Little China or something like that. I go,
Okay.
"Hey, I got this. I popped this," and he goes, "Hey, you're the guy that does this." "Yeah, I'm the guy that does this."
That's great.
But of course, it was at a martial art event, but people were going up and down the halls from the tournament going, "You're that guy. You're that guy. You're that guy."
Yeah, that's cool. So if you could follow just like one Instagram account, a martial arts account that you love, who would you follow?
For martial arts?
Yeah, like who's your favorite follow in the martial arts world? Like besides Black Belt Brenner, you probably don't have to follow yet, which is me. Uh, who do you like following?
I like Sam Alvey.
Sam Alvey.
Smiling Sam Alvey. And I had him up here for a seminar. We met via TikTok. He is the heavyweight champion of the Karate Combat League. And one of my students rolled in and goes, "Hey, you're famous now." "Okay, why now?" And he goes, "Sam Alvey did one of your videos." I'm like, "Oh, dude, this is awesome." So we became friends. I flew him up for a seminar. It was great. And so I love Sam. Sam is hilarious. He is, oh my God. And people come at him and he is just, he just handle. And like when we came up to Buffalo, we're talking like, "Hey, how do I come across?" "No, you're fine as a martial artist. No, we get it." They go, "Do you ever have this shit?" I go, "Oh my God, I get it all the time because, he doesn't, people talk about the UFC needing a union, and I'm like, dude, the UFC has taken so good care of me when I was fighting there. They don't need to do anything. But of course, if a fighter hears a fan saying that you guys should be paid more money, of course they're going to say yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
for
like,
sure.
but like, no, I say we're fine. And then people give me shit over that. I'm like, it's my opinion. I'm allowed it.
Yeah.
So he is. If there was only one person, it would be him. And yeah, it's just Sam's hilarious. I love his stuff.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here, and I appreciate hearing your insight about not only your school and traditional and weaponry, but also modern, and your experiences with growing your notoriety on TikTok and all the
Okay.
platforms. So if you haven't found him yet, make sure to find him on social media. My name is Matthew Brenner. I'm with Double Your Dojo. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at Black Belt Brenner1 on Instagram, or subscribe to my newsletter. I have a newsletter I post 3 days a week called the Black Belt Business Newsletter. It's a 3-minute read, all strategy, no fluff. It's free, and if you hate it, you can unsubscribe at any moment. But it's designed to help you get new students. One day a week. The other day a week is for retention, and the other day a week, Friday, is for team building, like training your staff. So I use insights I learned from this podcast, but also real world insights we use in our own martial arts schools, so you guys can have a better, even better business. So thank you guys for listening. My name is Matthew Brenner. Dr. Tim Hartman, thank you so much for being here. And if someone wants to reach out to you, how do they find you?
If you hashtag Datu Hartman, you'll find me, or yeah, you punch it, that'll find me right there. Hashtag there, you'll find my socials or my school, DatuHartman.com. It's all good.
Cool. And you also have a Wikipedia page, which I was jealous about because after I saw your Wikipedia page, I Googled, how do I get a Wikipedia? And
I don't even know how I got it. And people have looked up multiple times trying to challenge some of the things. I don't know. Here's the information. It's up
yeah.
to you whether you think it's relevant or not. And evidently, I make the grade. So yeah,
Yeah, cool.
thanks.
Thank you so much. See you, Tim. All right, hit stop recording.